Good morning. Good morning. How we doing? It's got some energy this morning for me.
Good morning, Steve.
Nobody's got anything good going? Come on, somebody's got to have something. I'm just dying to share here. Are we like? I'm working hard on this intro to make this an even more impactful show. Did you like my countdown timer?
You're doing amazing, Steve. Let's go.
I'm trying to add a little bit of entertainment value here as well. How about some real estate news? Obviously, we try not to get too much into politics here, but some executive orders from our new president that really could affect the housing market. Who knows how it's going to actually happen? But I think you guys should at least be aware of these things. So one of the things that got signed in was an executive order on some tariffs for lumber and for steel. So this could affect pricing. So it's interesting because one of the other orders that was signed in was to just try and make building housing more affordable. Right, we've got a housing inventory issue here in the United States. Builders are complaining that it's just too difficult and too expensive to build, too many regulations, too many hoops I got to go through. So, one of the orders is, hey, make it easier for these builders to build. But then, these executive orders on the tariffs could kind of offset that because, if just basic understanding how these tariffs work, like if it costs $1,000 to bring some lumber in and you put a 25% tariff on it, it's now going to cost $1,250 to bring that same load of lumber into the country. Right. And it's not just going to sit with the producer, it's going to get passed down to the consumer. So now these builders could potentially have higher costs, renovators could have higher costs. So that could offset anything that's done with the regulations piece. The comment that I saw was that these regulations could be costing housing about 25% of the cost. That if we could get rid of some of these regulations, you could bring housing costs down by about 25%. But if you offset it with higher costs in the materials, I don't know that we've accomplished much. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Just things that you guys should be aware of. I guess the goal would be with setting these tariffs. There's two things. One, if we continue to import this stuff, the government obviously receives that tariff, those funds, and they could turn around and subsidize certain things, maybe make affordable housing, maybe, help first-time home buyers with those funds. And the second thing that it does is promote, buying American, right? So could help some of our internal companies here in the U.S. to, ratchet up their production, help them grow their businesses. So I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts? Has anybody been diving deep into this stuff that would want to speak on it? Anybody have any questions on it? I mean, this is pretty macro stuff. I don't know that it's going to come down and affect you guys selling houses, but it could. The fact that we don't have enough inventory is definitely a problem. When you're a real estate agent and you make a living based on numbers of transactions and the volume of those transactions, and your transactions are down 20%, like we have been for the past couple of years, these things can affect you. So, anybody have any thoughts? Anybody been diving into it deep? Are we aware that we have a new president? Let's start there. We do have a new president. He got put into office this week, and
I'm grateful that you just explained it to us like that, Steve, because I do stay out of politics, but it's very important to know. Thank you for the facts.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of the general. Those are some of the things that are going to affect us the most. I mean, there was, I don't know, a ton of these executive orders that were signed, but the tariffs on imports, specifically lumber and metal, were the ones that I thought could affect us the most, along with the regulations. So Alex and Angela, I'll put you guys on the spot. I know you guys, I don't know if Angela's on, but I see Alex. I know you guys just went to an elite conference. Anything in particular that you wanted to share with the group? Anything coming out of that training? Sometimes you go to these things and you get a little overwhelmed, but either you guys in a position to share?
I was there. I wish I knew that. I would have hooked up with someone.
Oh, did you do a little traveling, Chris?
I was at Tom Ferry Elite.
Oh, well, what do you got? Golly, get your mic on and start talking to us. What do you
No,
guys
let
hiding?
Alex
You're
go.
hiding the juice.
Let Alex go.
You know what? There was so much that they discussed over the both days. Honestly, I got a notebook filled with a lot of important info. I don't think my brain is working at this hour to share everything, but everything from public speaking and how to better that to taking listings at a better level. And of course, preparing ourselves for the TCPA changes, regulations. Chris, I'm going to hand the mic off to you because I think you're going to probably describe things a lot better than I could.
Listen, my ADHD was on overdrive. Like it was everything I had to stay focused. There was so much, but it's funny how, with the different breakouts, I chose different ones because I'm very AI ignorant, as we decided in this thing. So I hit all the AIs and just the tremendous way that it could be helping me on a daily basis. And it was a lot. But my big aha, believe it or not, is as simple as task. And Alex, maybe you can help me with this, 'cause I don't have my notebook in front of me, but task changing or task shifting. Like Steve has said to me for all these years that you cannot multitask successfully, and I am always a big one. Yes, I can. Yes, I can, and I cannot. So, like that is a huge one.
Did we just lose Chris?
No, but I thought Alex was going to say
okay. No, yeah, that was definitely a very interesting exercise because at the first he put her on blast, put her on the spot, like. How fast can you count from 1 to 20? And then how fast can you say your ABCs? And then let's go A1, B2, C3. And then she lost it. And it was a really cool exercise, just showing that you really can't multitask. All you're doing is just shifting your focus from one task to the next to the other, and how people are 50% less productive, or what did he say? It was 40% less productive, or 50%. They get 50% less done and 40% less productive when they try to multitask versus just trying to tackle one thing at a time. And that was actually a very similar aha moment for me.
Yeah, I'll share I think the biggest task suck for most people is going to be email. And when you get in there, it can really start to suck your time, and it's the worst tasks because it's people putting their tasks on you typically. Right? Unless you're somebody, if you use Boomerang like I do, where you're throwing stuff that you got to remember into your email, then yeah, there could be some stuff in there for yourself. But mostly it's other people asking you to do things or other marketing stuff. So bucketing your emails and having filters around that could be absolutely game changer for you. It can give you hours back of your life. It's expensive, but the best one that I have found is an AI called Superhuman, which helps you to bucket your emails so that you can kind of attack things that are all kind of focused around the same thing. So I have my general inbox. I then have my team inbox, which means anybody with an @RovieHomes email drops in there. I have my VIP inbox, which is a couple of the leadership team. My wife is on that inbox. And then I have my real estate news inbox. So any of my MLS stuff comes into there. My board stuff comes into there. My Inman News or BAM News or any of those guys, drops in there. And then I just have my kind of general news. It makes it really, really easy to unsubscribe from stuff. And then as you start to bucket things like this, you can start to see, hey, I don't need some of these things. So the unsubscribe options and the ease of unsubscribe in there is pretty good. So you can do this in Gmail for free. It's not quite as easy. You can't kind of get through your buckets the same. But like I might leave my real estate news bucket untouched for a couple of days. It doesn't bother me, right? Whereas if it just came into my inbox, I know it's all over there, and then I can kind of sit down and have a focused hour where I'm going to go through my real estate news stuff.
And
So
Steve,
anybody, yeah,
it's actually even a step further than that, like what you're talking about. It was actually like, putting your do not disturb on. So like it was 50%, Alex, that I'm looking at my notes right now that just distract us. So like say I'm in the middle of working on my database, but then I see comes down an email from, you saying blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to answer him. 1 minute there, 1 minute there, 1 minute there. It's like not staying on the task. Like even I took a break yesterday and I was like, I am just going to sit in Zen for a minute. You called me and asked me that quick question. I picked up the phone because you called me. Like I have to stop doing things like that. Like I needed to breathe. Like that was an easy 2-minute call, but how many of those 2-minute calls do I have a day that I don't know are even going to be a 2-minute call? You've gotten really good at that. And I want to know what bucket I'm in your inbox.
you're you're in a special bucket, Chris. It's literally called special. No, it's a problem. Sharon actually just put out on his business school podcast an episode. I think it was yesterday that it dropped around communications and modes of communication, and that everybody has kind of their preferred method. So it's an interesting episode because we talked not only about how you're going to work your leads, right? Because we just think we got to call them, we got to text them. If you can find that lead on Instagram or on LinkedIn or on another social platform, maybe you can connect with them there. Maybe a video text is going to connect with them. But then once you've figured out what mode do they like, right? We've got to somehow note that in the CRM. And now we've got to make sure that for that person, that's how we communicate. For me, email is definitely going to be one of the easier ways to get me because my phone is off and it's going to do not disturb for most people that are not going to get through that. Phone conversations, they take up a lot of time. If it's a new client, maybe it's worth it. But in general, the phone conversation could have been done if they just left me a voicemail, they shot me an email, shot me a text. I can quickly reply. I can drop a voicemail so I can be more efficient like that. So I can actually respond more and be more efficient and actually get that person what they need better if I just get a request that I can execute on versus having a conversation back and forth. So for me, where I got a lot of stuff coming at me, email is the best because it's, I'm using AI to kind of help me sort through that stuff. But there's times where it's not in the do not disturb and a phone call comes through and I take it or whatever, but it's a lot easier to kind of use a voice memo or to use a quick response, share a Loom video than to have a conversation that can go on for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So if you're calling me and you're going to voicemail, that could be part of the issue. It's not that I don't want to talk to you, but just trying to be efficient so I can respond to as many different people in the best mode as possible. So any other questions on this topic? Because this is an important one. Every day that goes by, we've got more and more coming at us. And if you don't have a way to kind of sift through this stuff, if you feel like you've got to check your Instagram, you got to check your Facebook, you got to check your email, you got to check your text, you got to check your voicemail, you're going to spend your entire day checking and not getting much done. Right. And you got to be okay with, what, I'm not going to check these couple of things today, or I'm not going to respond there, but and if it's important, they know how to get me, send me an email and start to make sure that the important people, are getting to you the way that you want to be communicated with. KB.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that I've done to kind of help with my squirrel brain is delete social media from my phone. I took all of the social media platforms off of my phone. And the only time I check social media is when I'm doing it intentionally. I will check it every day, but I don't necessarily do it from my phone. I'll do it from a computer or my laptop or whatever, just to make sure I don't have any messages, catch up on anything that I need to catch up on. But the mindless scrolling on social media was just killer to me, and it has helped significantly.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Making it so that you still check that stuff, but you got to do it at a computer, not whenever, wherever on your phone can help. Obviously, there's apps that can help with this. Probably the best one that I've seen is an app called Freedom that'll just block you from certain things at certain times, etc. So it works on all devices. So once you set it, you can kind of say, hey, I want you to block me from this, that, and the other on my phone. I want you to block it on my computer, etc. Chris.
The other big thing with that he was talking about was pruning. And he's like you do your garden outside, like I got to stop. And what do I need to prune? Like what in my business is no longer can I afford to do, that I'm doing, and who in my business do I no longer need to like be working with or doing? Like it's got to prune down and to keep it sharp and fresh. There was so much, but
yeah, I think I think AI and making sure you're on top of AI right now is huge. And then just because there's so much information coming at us, an information management system and a response system is of utmost importance right now. I think those are two of the biggest things that you've got to make sure you've got under control.
And the last thing I'll say, not to take up the whole time, the big thing was being presentation ready, and how important it is that before you're crafting your presentation, you're looking at your audience. Like, who am I speaking to? And he went into the silent generation, the baby boomers, Gen X, Millennial X. Like, you have to treat each one differently. Like, if you're going into a baby boomers, they want to sit. They want to have a cup of coffee. They want to go slower. You know what I mean? And you have to really read the room, because when they say, would you like a glass of water? And you say, no, thank you, I'm all set. Sometimes that's insulting for that generation. Like they want to give you something, and talked a real lot about that with your presentation,
Yeah, no different than the modes of communication that we're talking about digital here. There's the in-person communication, and there is definitely an art to communicate. I mean, I've said this numerous times. I know I've lost listings because I went in there with my marketing package and my, driver D personality and no time, let's get in and out of this thing in an hour, when 2 hours would have won the listing. Having the glass of water, having the cup of coffee, having a beer. I've definitely been offered a beer, said no, probably should have said yes. Can't remember if I got that one, but those are the types of things. Like when they offer you a beer, they're not offering you a beer because it's not something that they like, that they don't like to do. It's something that they like to do. That's why they're offering it, right? So if it's a cup of coffee, if it's a glass of wine, if it's a beer, if it's I don't know. I don't think you're smoking a cigarette if you don't smoke, but maybe if you really want to win that listing. Other thoughts on this topic? All right. And Margareta. And Chris, your hand is still up. I don't know if it's lagging or you had another comment. All right.
It's just about that. Actually, about the presentation and asking, having something to drink. If I actually been told by this coach that to actually ask for something to drink, because it sets up that they're open to suggestions. It sets up that they're friendlier towards you, and kind of gets them kind of reorganized during this time, and gets you in the kitchen and talking and making it more comfortable to proceed with the presentation. So I've actually been told that ask for something to drink, and if they say, what would you like, say the one that would take don't tell them the one that would take the longest, but technically ask for a cup of coffee if it's not ready yet. That sort of thing.
That's different. I haven't heard that one. Go ahead, Alex.
I read something about this a long time ago. I used to study psychology back in college and high school. It's almost like if you get somebody to be open enough to do a favor for you, like if you really want something from somebody else, like if I want something from you, Steve, it's not that I want to do a favor for you and then ask for something in return. It's that if I ask you for a favor, even if it's small enough, as, hey, Steve, do you mind if I get a cup of coffee or anything? You are more inclined to do something bigger for me in the future, because of some kind of mental connection there, that you're already doing something for me. Now you're open to even doing more. And I remember I was talking to a coach at one point, and that's kind of what they said was, if you're at a listing presentation and somebody offers you a glass of water, it's kind of rude to say no. And then sometimes you do ask for one because now they're already open to doing something for you. They are that much more likely to say yes to something else that you request. I know it sounds weird, but psychologically somehow it clicks.
So we got to start going into these listing presentations and asking for a cup of coffee. That's what it sounded like to me. KB.
I actually read something about that too, and I actually meant to put my hand back down. But actually, one of the other things that I was reading when I remember this because this is kind of like the stuff that I like, was like 80% of people have a service or a giving mindset. Like most people like to give, and most people like to be of service of other people. It makes you feel good, and it kind of takes the pressure out of the situation. So if I walk in and I ask someone, "Hey, would you mind if I had a glass of water?" or could you please get me a glass of water? That automatically like takes their guards down. Like, oh my God, that's so easy. I can totally do that for you. What else do they need me to do? Right? Well, I need you to sign this contract. That's what I need you to do. But start with a glass of water, baby steps. So.
Well, I mean, and all the coaching and mentorships, I've never heard this one, but you guys are making it sound really effective, and I have no doubt that this could work. So definitely a good takeaway from today's call. We've still got a few minutes left here. Does anybody have something going on one of their deals that they need help with? You want to just experience share? I just went through this. Want to make sure everybody was aware of it. Anything like that going on? All right. Let's make sure we're not just going to conferences, that we're turning around and executing on what we learned, right? That is one of the things that we can tend to get caught too much in, going to webinars, going to conferences, reading books, and not executing. So for those of you guys that went to the conference, that's awesome. Let's pick 3 things and let's execute on them. Let's get them into production. Let's make sure that it's changing our life. I remember somebody had said something on a podcast that I was listening to regarding reading books. If you're reading books and then you don't execute on anything, you might as well not have read the book, right? The whole point of learning, when you've really learned, is when you turn around and execute. Otherwise, it's just been knowledge that's kind of passing through. So make a goal. If you are setting out to read a book, there's a purpose on why you're reading that book, why you're taking that training. And that is to learn and then to execute on the learning. So try and build that into your learning process, that you're going to turn around and have something that you're going to make an action step out of. We got, I think, enough time here to just hit one more topic as we stay on inspections. So the next topic that I had on my list was asbestos. Anybody done an asbestos test? Want to share kind of what that process was like? I've actually never done this. I feel like there's always not always, but a good amount of the inspections, especially on older homes, inspectors can say, oh, that could be asbestos, whether it's in the siding, whether it's in the floor tiles, whether it's in the roofing. Anybody actually have a client go through with some testing and want to share that experience? Yeah, Chris just put wrap it up or remove it. That seems to be the standard, right? If it's cracking, if it's breaking, if it can, dust can get into the air, that's the issue with asbestos, right? So if it's intact, it shouldn't really cause any issues. But when it starts to break up, that's when they're going to say you got to wrap it, or else if it breaks up more, now it gets into the air, you breathe it in, and this is where it can be a real problem for you. Adam.
So just want to add some flavor on, you hit the 3 main areas you'll see it. The asbestos siding on the exterior of a house. It just it all looks the same. If you've seen it, you know what it looks like. Very, very strong stuff, very good stuff. In my opinion, unless it gets damaged by a car hitting it, there's really not, a danger to the buyer. I mean, the inspector is going to mention it. Oh my God, this thing's covered in asbestos. I have yet to kind of understand why that should scare someone, other than if it does get disturbed, someone's throwing a ball against the house, a car hits it. Yes, there's an issue. You can totally side over it. Every siding company will side over asbestos siding. So if there's really a concern, you could cover it. The other big one is 8x8 floor tiles. So if you think of like a hospital floor or a school floor, those are usually like 12x12 tiles, are a little bit bigger. The smaller ones, 8x8, in some of these like 60s and 70s homes, a lot of times you'll see them in the basements. Those are asbestos tiles. Kind of the same thing. Like those are usually have a laminate cover over them, so you're not really going to expose too much. But we typically either throw carpet over it, throw linoleum over it, throw click lock over it, and you're totally fine because it's covered and it can't be exposed. And then the last one, probably the most frequent one you'll run into, is asbestos wrapped pipes in the basement. So sometimes you will come across these pipes that are in really, really good shape. But the concern with asbestos pipes in the basement is you could hit it with a broomstick. You're a little bit more exposed to it on a daily basis, right? A lot of times the laundry is down there. So if there are any exposed ends or any broken pieces, any plumbing supply house will sell a material that's very similar to how they cast like a broken arm or whatever. So it's the stuff that comes in a roll. I don't know how much it costs. I think it's reasonable, 50, 75 bucks a roll. You dip it in hot water and you literally wrap it around the pipe, and then it dries rock hard, and now you've got no exposed ends. So if you've got a seller that's a handyman or someone that's concerned about it, it's a pretty inexpensive fix to just tie up any of the loose ends of the asbestos, or if there's any punctures anywhere. And then at least the inspector is going to say, hey, it is here, but it's in good condition, it's intact, and it should be less of a concern for future buyers than it would have been had you not put that casting material on. And of course, you could hire a plumber to do it too. But and then not Emerald, those guys out of East Long Meadow, I can't think of their name. But anyways, they'll come in and they'll give you a quote. It's typically based on linear feet. So if you're trying to get an idea on how much it costs to remove it, you could literally just take a tape measure and measure all of the runs on all the piping. You can give them a call and they should be able to give you a general idea over the phone.
Chris had just put in the chat that Abide was the company that'll do that. So good share, man. Appreciate the extra color on this. We are at the 9 o'clock hour. Let's finish up with a just look at the training that is available today. So we've got a new agent starter series at 11, building community locally and digitally at noon. The Journey to Elite, that is at noon as well. Real Agents Society at, 2 o'clock. Conversations to Closings Mastermind, we'll wrap it up at 3. So bunch of different learning opportunities today. Really good topics today. Good deep dive. Appreciate all the sharing and dialogue. So have yourselves an awesome Thursday, and we will finish the week strong tomorrow. All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Goodbye.